The open source baseline just moved to 1 trillion parameters. Moonshot AI released Kimi K2.7-Code this week, a trillion parameter model with 32 billion active parameters in a mixture of experts architecture, 256,000 context window, and full commercial licensing under Apache 2.0. This is not a research artifact. This is a model you can download, deploy, and ship today without vendor permission. Let's anchor what that means. 6 months ago, the largest open source models were hitting 400 billion parameters. The frontier closed models, Claude, GPT-4, operated in the 1 to 10 trillion range depending on how you count. The gap between what you could build with and what the labs had was roughly 10 to 100x in model scale. That gap just compressed. Moonshot didn't just release parameters, they built this on a mixture of experts architecture, which means you're not running a full trillion parameters on inference. You're activating 32 billion at a time. The efficiency math changes everything about deployment cost. 1,652 retweets in the launch window, the open source community noticed. What they're noticing is optionality. You no longer have to justify API costs or vendor lock-in for trillion parameter capability. Apache 2.0 means commercial use. No restricted tiers, no personal use only carve-outs. Here's what matters operationally. The capability floor just rose. If you're building retrieval systems, code completion layers, or multi-turn reasoning workflows, you now have a baseline you control entirely. Fine-tuning, alignment, domain-specific adaptation, all feasible without paying per token to 3 different vendors. The cost structure for infrastructure shifts from license-dependent to compute-dependent. That matters because compute you can optimize, licenses you can't. The unresolved question, can a 1 trillion parameter open-source model close the performance gap with proprietary alternatives that have invested 10 times more in RLHF, constitutional AI, and reinforcement learning from human feedback? Parameter count and task performance aren't linear. Moonshot released benchmarks showing Kimi K2.7 performing competitively on coding tasks, math reasoning, and long context retrieval. That's the claim. Independent verification on your specific use case will be the test. We're also watching Anthropic's updated privacy policy, now permitting age and identity verification through government ID and biometric collection, and reported integration of Runway video generation directly into the ChatGPT interface. Both signal infrastructure consolidation, both worth monitoring as the dependency graph tightens. The signal here is clear. Open source just entered trillion parameter territory. If you've been waiting for the moment when proprietary licensing became optional for frontier-scale work, that moment is now. Watch whether the open source community can sustain RLHF parity over the next 6 months. That determines whether this is a competitive shift or a marketing release. If you want to stay ahead of moves like this, I build these systems for a living. Join the community. Link in the description. Build the system. Automate the rest.